Hi everyone, this is my second go. It wasn't really working the first time, so I'm hoping it comes through. I'm just going to check because this is my first live, so I've got a few technological stuff just to figure out. So I'll just give you a few minutes to kind of come in the room and get comfortable, and I'll just check that out. So if I'm looking down here, I'm just checking the computer to see if I've got it all done okay. It worked fine earlier, so we just have to hope that it does so again. This is the joys of technology. There we go. But either way, I'm going to continue anyway, because I know that whatever I talk about here will be recorded and put into the video stream and things. So I'm going to go on and respond to some of the questions that I was sent to in advance. Because I know that there's a lot of questions around psychological therapy and mental health that at this stage we really, I've still got a lot to talk about. So just to introduce myself a little bit first, my name is Dr. Christine Abercrombie, or Christine. I'm a chartered clinical psychologist in Northern Ireland, and I've recently went on to basically specialise my skills into providing online therapy. So that means providing therapy via video chat, via email, telephone, and instant messaging as well. So I'm just going to go on ahead and start kind of addressing some of the questions that I've got. So I've got quite a few here to kind of cover. If people do manage to pop in, I think it was working a minute ago because I did see a few people come into the live stream, but it'll just take us a wee while to get used to it, so don't worry. But one of the things that I was asked about was basically how do you, whenever you're a therapist, switch off after the work that you do during the day. And the question that was asked really was in relation to a person who was experiencing these kind of experiences within their own work as a manager, and lots of people having their own difficulties. One thing about therapy is that it is quite a boundaried kind of thing. So whenever you leave that, sorry, I've got a friend who's trying to get through and they're not able to. Whenever you're able to kind of bring yourself away from that situation, really, you can learn to let a lot of it go. And that doesn't come with just overnight, but it definitely comes with experience, where you're able to know that you've got the skills to help that person, but also that you're not there to completely fix them, that it's very much a teamwork position. Every so often you will get kind of quite triggered by something that means something more particular for you, and in that situation you do have to have self-care. As therapists, we also have therapy ourselves, and we also take time to really reflect on some of the things that are brought up. One of the big things for me is, although I'm on here and talking a lot about quite kind of serious stuff, is that when I go away, I try to take the time to really just let go of it and just do silly things and watch Netflix and have all sorts of hobbies outside of that as well. But if anything really does kind of stick with me, I would tend to use it to bring it to supervision too. So those are some of the skills that I would tend to use to deal with that, really. So I hope that's helpful. I did get an inquiry on my Facebook page yesterday asking me to address a specific question here today, which is, if you've had therapy with a therapist in the past, what do you do in terms of if you want to go back and see them again? And there is usually no reason why you shouldn't be able to go back and see the same therapist if they're still working in that area. And the best thing to do is really just, come up to them and ask, and make the contact. And that's what they're there for. They're there to help you figure it out, whether it's to stay with them and go back to them and see what else you can do together, or whether it is to go on and see somebody different if that's what's needed. But the main thing is to remember that they're there to help you, make that decision, and just, make contact, book a consultation, and together kind of, reflect on what's best for you. But I think the main thing is that sometimes a lot of the stuff that we can feel outside the therapy room with regards to our relationships, and if we end up feeling, oh, we haven't been in touch with a friend for a long time, how do we reach out again? Or you think, oh, well, maybe they don't want to kind of have that contact with me again. All of that kind of transfers into the therapeutic relationship, so the relationship between the client and the therapist as well. So all of that can be reflected upon, but just to be aware that that really does happen. But otherwise, just think of it the same as you would any other type of health situation. If you had something wrong with another part of your body and there was a doctor or a therapist that you trusted, you would go back and see them again. And if they felt that they were the best person to help and you thought that too, then there's no reason, not to go back and continue that work. They already know you, they already have your history and everything, and you have already developed a relationship as well. So I hope that helps. Let's see, what else have we got here. I've got some questions around how to get in touch to arrange a session. Well, I actually offer a free consultation, 30 minutes, usually by telephone, because it's something that we're all pretty familiar with in terms of getting in touch with someone. So my number is on my Facebook page, but it's 07896 150 292. You can send me a direct message here on Messenger, or email me at info@letstalkni.co.uk. And then from there we'll just arrange an initial consultation, see what we can do to help, whether you think I'm the best person to help you, whether I think I'm the best person to help, you, and just go from there, because at least it gives you an opportunity to reach out to various therapists and try and figure out what it is that you're looking for, and to see if something feels right for you. So that's kind of in terms of getting in touch with me. So some of the other questions that I had were also in relation to my therapy, actually, that I provide. One was actually related to what actually a first therapy session involves. I think actually reaching out and going for therapy can be a really, really difficult process, and particularly if you haven't had it before, if you haven't went to therapy before, there can be a lot of stigma about it, like, oh, we should only go if we've got a certain type of problem, or if we're in a certain position psychologically, or perhaps we think that our issues aren't as big as other people's, therefore we should not need that help. Or some of the things I've heard before is that, well, I'll just be wasting somebody's time. And actually talking about things can be quite daunting, because it can actually bring up a lot of stuff to begin with, that we often like to just put in that little box in our brains and put away somewhere. So reaching out first and foremost is a very difficult thing to do. So understanding maybe what that first session will consist of is a pretty important thing. So generally what I would do is have a initial consultation for an hour and a half. So that's after like the free 30-minute one, if you decide to go on ahead and do the full consultation. And during that time we'd do a very kind of brief overview of kind of your life and where you're at the minute. So during that you would tell me a little bit about what it is you're experiencing, what kind of difficulties that you might be having, what kind of things that you've been using to cope with those, what's been working, what's been not. Providing you with a safe and containing place to do that is extraordinarily important, because obviously if we go to talk to friends and families, it can be hard, because they're all kind of enmeshed in a lot of the experiences with us, and we're worried about what they're feeling and they're worried about what we are feeling. And there's also sometimes a fear of judgment too. So in that initial consultation, it's really about you being provided with that space to open up and slowly talk about whatever's going on in your head, and doing that at a pace that you feel comfortable with. And as well as talking about the problems that you're currently having and the kind of stuff surrounding that, we would also then explore the wider context of your life. You know, what kind of things you do day to day, your work, your relationships. We would talk about your past and start to just kind of like get to know a little bit about, you know, what your childhood was like, what kind of experiences you had growing up, if there was any significant kind of big life events. And again, you don't have to disclose all of these in the first session. There's time to do all of that. So it's just about taking your time to explore what it is that you feel comfortable with, and us reflecting upon that and discussing it together. And towards the end of the session, really, when we kind of pull that together, we'll be able to think about how we, you know, go about working together. You can have the opportunity to ask me questions about anything really that you need to ask, but we can talk about the different therapies I provide and have a consultation about, you know, which one of those might be suitable for you. Like I've said before, this is us working as a team. It's about me coming as the expert with training and you coming as the expert by experience. You're the one who is an expert of your life, and sometimes we just need this external place or person to help us reflect and make sense of that, and somebody who has the training obviously to do so. So if anyone else has any questions, I know there's a few people watching right now, please do feel free to pop them in the comments, and I will go through those questions as well. I do have more here to talk about, so I'm more than happy to do that. And as usual, the time goes a lot faster than I will realise. Hi Todd, I'm glad you can make it. Oh, don't worry, I think I had some technological problems and stuff at the beginning anyway. So yeah, yes, I think that's pretty common, that a lot of us probably couldn't figure it out. Just kind of getting used to the technology of Facebook Lives, I suppose. Once you do them a few times, I think they'll get a lot easier though. How are you today anyway? If you've got any questions or anything, please, you know, do feel free to pop them in the comments and I will get back to you. Some of the other kind of common questions that people will ask is about the types of therapies I do provide. So that would vary, you know, depending on what you need and what you've had in the past, and there's a whole kind of process as us to figure that out. But generally what I find as my career has developed is that I don't really usually work within one particular therapeutic model. So there's lots of different types of therapies. Some of the most common ones that you might have heard of are things like cognitive behavioural therapy, schema-focused therapy, psychodynamic psychotherapy, person-centered therapy, which is a lot of what that latter one is, a lot of what kind of counsellors would use, whilst also integrating other bits and pieces. And I suppose a big one that's around at the moment as well is introducing mindfulness into the work we do. So the idea of being able to live in the moment. And it really depends where you're at in your life, what kind of space you need. And no treatment is ever going to be the same, and it's going to be completely and utterly individualized for each and every person. But what I hope to do in a couple of weeks is just do a few blog series talking a bit more in detail about each therapy. So again, like I've talked about during the videos during the week, you have an opportunity to become more empowered in your decisions. And I don't want to make things too complicated either. So for each person, it's really important that you do this in a way that it suits you. So if you need to, you know, not know so much information and, you know, want more guidance from your therapist, that's fine. And if you want to come in and, you know, be much more involved in that process, that's okay too. We all come from completely different experiences, and have different ways of working with our mental health, but the main thing that I always come back to is the core of any kind of therapeutic counselling is providing you with a place where you do not feel judged, where you can talk about whatever it is that's going on in your mind, and where we can work together to help you figure out what it is that you need to process, what you need to sit with. It's not always just about, well, how do we move on and fix things straight away? Sometimes we have to give space to sit with some of the really difficult and painful emotions that we have. I don't know how much people have become familiar with Brené Brown's work, but that idea of allowing yourself to be vulnerable, and allowing yourself to, be with those emotions is a really important part of healing our emotional and mental health. And then other parts are more directive and more thinking about, well, what can we do to get ourselves out there more? What can we do to increase our, self-esteem? I would use a lot of self-compassion type stuff within my work, because the one biggest theme that I have always seen within any client I've ever worked with, and I think it's just a huge part of who we are as human beings, is that we're so hard on ourselves, and we beat ourselves up so much. And a lot of us think that being self-compassionate could be actually quite a selfish act, but all of the research and the theory shows that the more we can be compassionate with ourselves, the more we can also be compassionate with others. So another one of the therapies that I'd often integrate into my work is called compassion focused therapy as well. So I understand that this all probably sounds really, really complicated, but I just want to give you a little bit of a feel for the whole range of different things. I often just think of it as my psychological toolbox. I use it within my own life, I use it within my work, and it's a toolbox of psychological skills that I can, pick out bits and pieces and use depending on what's needed where, and really listen to what my clients need and want from the services we provide, and also making sure that they know that they have a space where they can, say, look, I think that this is good, but I'm not so sure about this, or that brought up these emotions or experiences, and feel like they can be, as honest as possible, and really have that kind of like trusting relationship within the therapeutic work. And I suppose a lot of people are probably wondering, well, how does all of that transfer into online therapy? And I've really found that it's all very much transferable. There will be times where somebody comes and contacts me and I'll think, right, you know what, online therapy is not for them, and we'd discuss that together. But a lot of the time I find that we can integrate lots of different ways, do tasks in between sessions, keep in touch via, WhatsApp, which is very secure as well, and also just kind of figure out lots of creative ways to help people through whatever difficulties they're having, and it just improves the accessibility for some people who otherwise might not be quite ready to, jump out and, seek the help that they need, or, for a whole range of other reasons which I, dealt with during the week. But I have one more question that I wanted to get to, and then I will try and kind of wrap up a little bit. I wanted to end off with a wee project that I'm just going to briefly introduce, which is more of a local community project. But one of the other questions I had was around really if somebody wanted to become a student in counselling or clinical psychology, and what kind of resources there might be for somebody who's interested in that. If I was looking to become a counsellor and starting off, Carl Rogers would really be the person that I would first look into. He's written loads of really great books. He started kind of out in the 1950s and is a huge founder of a lot of the skills and techniques we use to help people. There's actually one book, I've just got it on my computer, I'm just going to have a wee look, that I just looked up. There's one called Person-Centered Counselling in Action, and they've just done a 4th edition of it, and that was probably the first counselling book that I ever read, was their first edition of it. And this one was written by Dave Mearns and Brian Thorne, so I would definitely recommend that one. And as well as that, if you're looking to get to know psychology better in general, a great place to look is the British Psychological Society website. So if you go to www.bps.org, they have a huge amount of resources and everything there as well. So that's pretty a handy place to go for lots of information. A really good introductory kind of undergraduate psychology book would be something about, you know, abnormal psychology, which I hate the term of because I don't think anything we experience in life is abnormal. They're just normal, you know, reactions to very difficult and often traumatic experiences. But if you look up anything to do with what they often term abnormal psychology, it introduces a lot of different mental health concepts in that. As well as that, there's social constructionism, which I know sounds like a very complicated thing, but it's a really good way of starting to understand the context of society within our mental health and who we are as people. And I'm going to finish off, because as usual I talk way more than I mean to. I think we just had a little bit of a loss of connection there, but it's okay. And this kind of brings me into a little project that I want to work on. So here we go. This is more of a community thing for our local community. So if anyone's watching this afterwards, please do get in touch with me if this is something you'd be interested in getting involved in. Due to my health issues, I am no longer really able to hold up books and read them in the way that I used to be able to. So all my stuff's now on Kindle, and I have probably around 30 psychology books, counselling books, self-help books that are just sitting and basically gathering dust. I also have various magazines from the British Psychological Society, so it's called The Psychologist, as well as from the Division of Clinical Psychology. And I've been trying to figure out how can I best need to... Oh, thank you, Todd. Is it a little bit low? I wonder if I can make it a little bit higher. Oh, there you go. You get my big hand. It's all a bit of a learning curve, isn't it? I did do a recording earlier and it was okay. I might need to get a headset at some point. And I've got a variety of different books here as well. I've got at least another 20 upstairs. So I've got stuff like Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. On becoming a psychotherapist. What else do we have? Stuff on walking meditation, overcoming chronic pain, and I've got like a lot more of where that comes from. So I had this idea of how do we kind of set up some kind of like, I've seen them in different places in different parts of the world where you have like a take a book, give a book kind of thing. So where we can raise awareness for mental health and set up something in the local community where people can come, take a book that they need, bring something back that, you know, that they have used before but don't need anymore. And we can just kind of keep recycling different books that people have that, you know, perhaps that they wouldn't have thought of reading or don't have, you know, the finances for getting, because, you know, they all add up and they're quite expensive. So if we just kind of like raise awareness of mental health and develop some kind of community project. I have no idea where I'm going with it, but it's something that I would be really interested in figuring out with the local community and seeing how we can help to raise awareness of mental health within Flemiltown and the local area as well. So I'm going to finish there. I realise that there's probably been quite a few technological glitches, so all I can do is apologise for that. And if there's any feedback in terms of thank you, Todd, for the feedback regarding the microphone, or anything else, and how to kind of, you know, make sure I can get these out a bit more, please do feel free. And again, if you've got any questions later on when you're watching this in the recording, just pop them in below or just get in touch if you need to know anything. Well, thank you everyone for listening, and I'm just going to sign out there. So I hope you have a good rest of your day, and I will speak to you all again soon. Thanks for tuning in. Bye bye.